It was supposed to be a glamorous evening on one of the most luxurious yachts in the harbor, an exclusive party with the city's elite. But when Emily stepped aboard, dressed simply in a chic, understated outfit, the whispers started. The well-dressed guests, sipping champagne and chatting about their latest deals, couldn't help but snicker. Who was this woman? Clearly out of place. Some assumed she must be a plus one, or maybe a crew member who got lost. Little did they know, they were about to make a huge mistake. Emily tried to ignore the quiet laughter as she made her way through the crowd, but it didn't escape her. The sneers and judgment were impossible to miss. However, what they didn't realize was that Emily wasn't just another partygoer. She wasn't here to fit in or impress anyone. No, she had a plan, and a deep well of patience. As the night went on and the taunts continued, Emily smiled, silently calculating her next move. She wasn't just going to walk away from this. Instead, she decided to teach them a lesson they would never forget. What she did next left everyone on the yacht in stunned silence. What would you do if you were mocked at a party with the wealthy and elite? Would you walk away, or would you do what Emily did and completely flip the script? The answer might shock you. As the evening wore on, Emily could feel the eyes of the guests on her. Their glances were laced with curiosity, and their whispers became more frequent. She could hear them. Who does she think she is? She doesn't even belong here. They weren't trying to hide their judgment anymore, and it was getting under her skin. But rather than letting it get to her, she kept her cool, calmly sipping her drink, letting the moment play out. The yacht party was the pinnacle of the city's social scene, a collection of business tycoons, celebrities, and socialites, all eager to one-up each other with their designer clothes and stories of high-end escapades. Emily had been invited by a friend, a seemingly casual invitation that many of the guests would have killed for. But this wasn't just another party for Emily. She wasn't like the others, trying to fit in or impress. She had a reputation in the business world, but most of the people here didn't know it. She was known for making big moves, bold, calculated decisions that left people speechless. Yet, few ever took her seriously because they couldn't see past her calm demeanor and simple style. Tonight, that would change. As the night dragged on, Emily could tell the mocking wasn't going to stop. She caught snippets of conversation about her attire, her lack of status, and even more personal remarks. Little did they know, they were playing into her hands. And then, just as everyone thought the night would continue without incident, she made her move. The room fell silent. As Emily made her way to the deck, she noticed the smirks on the faces of the people around her. They were laughing behind her back, pointing out how out of place she seemed, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she took a deep breath, feeling the cool ocean breeze against her skin. The sound of the waves crashing against the hull was strangely soothing, almost like a reminder that she wasn't part of their world, but she would be soon. Back inside, the party raged on, but Emily's presence had shifted the atmosphere. No one dared to approach her, not now that she'd become the subject of gossip. But she knew that, sooner or later, someone would come to try and put her in her place. And when that happened, she'd be ready. Jason, one of the more well-known socialites in the crowd, had been watching her from across the room. He was used to people fawning over him, and Emily's indifference had piqued his interest. He was the first to break the ice, striding over to her with a cocky grin. "You don't belong here, do you?" he asked, his tone dripping with arrogance. Emily smiled but didn't answer. Instead, she took out her phone and glanced at the screen. Jason raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "A last-ditch effort to get someone to notice you." But Emily wasn't looking for attention. She was making a move that would change everything. As she sent the message, she felt the weight of the decision she was about to make. Everyone would soon understand. She wasn't the woman they thought she was. Jason's grin only grew wider as he leaned in closer, waiting for Emily's response. But she didn't give him the satisfaction of a quick comeback. Instead, she calmly tucked her phone back into her purse and turned her attention back to the water, letting the silence linger. Jason, clearly frustrated by her cool indifference, tried again, this time more pointedly. "You're not going to get anywhere trying to blend in, you know. People like us." He paused, almost as if to let the weight of the words sink in. "We don't just let anyone in." The laughter from inside the yacht was louder now, almost mocking. Emily could hear their voices carrying through the open doors, their words about her growing more caustic. It was clear they saw her as nothing more than a blip in their world of wealth and privilege. But there was a quiet determination in Emily's eyes that Jason hadn't noticed before. She wasn't here to fit into their world. She was here to change the narrative. As Jason was about to make another comment, Emily's phone buzzed again, its screen flashing with a message. This time, her fingers didn't hesitate as she tapped a few keys and sent her reply. The tension in the air thickened. She knew the moment she'd been waiting for was coming, the moment when everything would shift. But she wasn't going to make the first move. Not yet. Behind her, she heard the sound of footsteps approaching, and a familiar voice called out her name. Emily turned slowly, her expression unreadable. Everything was about to change. Emily turned to see who had called her name, and her heart skipped a beat when she recognized the man approaching. It was Victor, the yacht's owner, a powerful businessman whose name was synonymous with wealth and influence. His sharp, tailored suit and confident stride made it clear that he wasn't just another face in the crowd. He stopped in front of her, his piercing eyes scanning her with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. "Emily, isn't it?" His voice was smooth, his words deliberate. "I've been hearing a lot about you." Jason, who had been watching the exchange with a growing sense of discomfort, stepped back. Emily didn't look at him. She didn't need to. Victor was all that mattered now. "I didn't expect to see someone like you here," Victor continued, his smile barely hiding his intrigue. "Most people like to keep their distance from my parties. Too distracting for them, I suppose." Emily felt a wave of realization wash over her. He wasn't here to offer pleasantries. No, Victor had known about her all along. The way he said "someone like you" was enough to tell her that he saw her not as an outsider, but as a potential player. She had underestimated the weight of his presence on the yacht, and now she had a new challenge in front of her. Just then, a voice crackled through the yacht's intercom system, breaking the moment. "Mr. Grayson, there's an issue with the ship's systems. You need to come immediately." Victor's smile faded slightly. He turned toward the crew member who had spoken, and for a split second, Emily caught a glimpse of something in his eyes. Concern. But what was it about? Victor's eyes flickered back to Emily, his expression shifting from amusement to something far more calculating. Without a word, he turned and walked toward the staircase leading below deck, signaling the crew to follow. Emily's pulse quickened. She had expected some sort of confrontation, but she hadn't anticipated this. Not yet, anyway. As the crew dispersed, Jason's smirk returned, and he leaned in closer to Emily, his voice barely a whisper. "You really think you belong here? You think Victor's going to give you any attention after you've made a fool of yourself?" Before Emily could respond, she felt her phone buzz once again. This time, the message on the screen made her freeze. It wasn't from anyone she recognized. It read simply, "I know what you did. It's time to cash in." Her mind raced. She quickly glanced around, her instincts telling her that something much bigger was happening under the surface. But what could it be? Her attention snapped back to Victor, who was now standing at the top of the staircase, looking directly at her. He wasn't just intrigued anymore, he was studying her. Suddenly, the crew's hurried footsteps stopped. A voice echoed from below deck, calling out in alarm. "The yacht, it's not going anywhere. We've lost all power." The realization hit her like a wave. This wasn't just an ordinary breakdown. Someone had intentionally sabotaged the yacht. And now Emily was caught right in the middle of something far more dangerous than she could have ever imagined. The chaos below deck intensified as the crew scrambled to restore power. But Emily knew there was no fixing this quickly. Victor's earlier smugness had vanished, replaced with a look of genuine concern, but he was too late. The yacht was dead in the water, stranded. The guests who had been so dismissive of her were now murmuring in panic, unsure of what to do. Emily took a deep breath, her thoughts racing. She knew this wasn't an accident. The sabotage had been deliberate, but by whom? She glanced at Jason, who was looking nervously around, likely realizing that the night's carefully curated illusion was crumbling. She had never intended for things to escalate like this, but she wasn't going to let it go to waste. As Victor approached her, she spoke first. "I didn't come here for your approval. I came here to show you that there's more going on than what meets the eye. I know who did this, and I know why." Victor raised an eyebrow, surprised. Emily's voice was steady, and she didn't flinch under his scrutiny. "You think you're the only one who can play games? You haven't seen anything yet." Victor's face shifted. He knew she wasn't bluffing. Emily had been underestimated, and now she was holding all the cards. Her quiet determination had been her greatest weapon. As the guests began to realize they were stuck, Emily smiled to herself. She hadn't just been part of the party. She had become the one they couldn't ignore. The night was far from over, but the power had shifted, and Emily, she was ready to take control.